Today on the Ranger Wrap-Up, we're going to be talking about the crazy cliffhanger from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 40. We're also going to be joined by Ryan Parrott, and we're going to talk about shed some light on Necessary Evil. And Toku, Kid, and Justin are going to give their best Kamen Rider belts list. That's going to be a little bit of a countdown, and we're going to talk about some news, so let's get to it. Welcome to the Ranger Wrap-Up. This is our new look that we teased last week. This is our new format of the show. I am Joe with that hashtag show, joined by my co-host,
Battlestar Galactica. That's right, Daniel.
And on our social media wall...
Sorry.
On our social media wall...
Jezzer.
And he's going to be taking all of your comments this week, and that's the Zordon social media wall is what we're going to call that for now. But Daniel, how's your week been?
It's been pretty good. I've done a lot of stuff lately. I did an Annabelle junket or whatever like that. I've got some other stuff I want to do after this today. My week's been fantastical, but what about yours?
Busy. I finally got back from London and readjusted.
Oh, yeah.
So everything's good. And we got a big week coming up, and we also have a special guest on this episode. Ryan Parrott's here in studio with us. Jezzer, how you doing, my friend, over there in lonely social media wall?
Good. I helped my friend move, and I hit my face with a basketball hoop. I don't know what I was doing. I was trying to switch sides with it, and it kind of just like the bar just fell straight on my face. So
serious?
It's throbbing right now, so we'll see.
You should have got that on video with that freaking drone. I just want you to bring the drone in. I just want to do things with the drone in the office.
I think the laws in LA are a little bit more strict, or they're stricter than where I live. So
when you talk, you got to cut back to you.
Yeah,
man.
So one thing I do want to talk about is we got a jam-packed show today, and I want to get right to the news. Daniel and Jezzer, we will all chime in on this. Our first bit of news. And it shocked me because I didn't see this figure coming. But the Lightning Collection Black Ranger figure with the shield. This is actually in one of my favorite Season 1 Mighty Morphin Power Ranger episodes, Oyster Stew. I'm a big fan of this look. And I think this is, to me, I love the black and gold. And I feel like this is where they got inspired with the coolest looking Ranger suit of all time, the Gold Ranger.
Honestly, I agree. It's definitely one that I need. I need to get it. I need to bug Walter and have him sign it. My only problem is that I have to go where, Jezzer?
You have to go to Walgreens. So I don't know. How often do you go to Walgreens?
Dude, I go to CVS when I'm sick. I don't know. So, I have to go to Walgreens. Walgreens is like the Walmart of pharmacy places in that way where I just don't want to walk in.
Yeah.
So now I have to go into one for this. But apparently they've had a connection with Hasbro or Power Rangers or something for a while.
Yeah. When they had the Alpha 5 Funko Pop, it was at Walmart. I hate Walmart.
You know what? I did find my White Ranger Lightning Collection figure at a Walmart. I did have to kind of suck it up a little bit, mainly because I don't like going to Walmarts either. But in order for me to get this White Ranger figure, I did have to go to a Walmart. And look, I usually would like to go to Target to do my toy hunting for my Lightning Collection. But I've yet to find Lord Zed at any Target or Walmart at this point. Lord Zed has still eluded me. But the thing is, with this Walgreens exclusive, I know for a fact, and I want to support like the brick and mortars. So that's why I'm trying to do this at all stores.
Understandable.
But man, I know for a fact, I have a feeling this is going to be one figure I'm going to have to buy online.
Dude, you know what? Luckily, I live in Inglewood. So I'm thinking, and there is a Walgreens in Inglewood, I'm thinking people in Inglewood may not even think about that toy. And they may have only 3 at that location. I'm just going to walk in.
What do you mean? I heard Inglewood has a bunch of Power Ranger fans over there.
Actually, it does. It does.
And everybody's just hanging out at
I don't
Walgreens.
think no one's going to come to that Walgreens, though, looking for it.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going to go. And if it's not there, well, then I tried.
So let's talk about this figure for a second here. Now, this was revealed exclusively on ScreenRant.com, the other outlet that I work for.
Bing.
It looks amazing. Number one, the Blade Blaster. I hope that eventually you can put all these weapons together and make that...
right? Like the Mega Cannon?
The Mega Cannon thing. But that would be cool. But also, one thing that we didn't notice, or one thing that I know that when you read the description of the figure, it will come with Zack's head swap. So, but we didn't see the picture of Zack's head yet.
Oh!
So, that's interesting to me. Yeah, we haven't seen Zach's head.
Oh, I'm on point. I don't care. I'm getting it somewhere. I'm getting it somewhere now.
Yeah, I can't wait. Now, at that point, we've already had technically 3 Mighty Morphin figures, including Tommy as the White Ranger.
Yeah.
But funny enough, all 3 have shields. The White Ranger, the Red Ranger, and the Black Ranger. I'm excited for this figure, though. I can't wait for it to hit shelves. The date hasn't been announced yet when it's going to be hitting shelves. But before that, also, you got to hit up that GameStop in October because that's when the Goldar figure is coming out. I can't wait for that. And I know, Jezzer, you're a big fan of the villain figures, right?
Yeah, well, some of the villain figures. Lord Zed looks great. I think that, it's probably expensive to do, like, shiny silver. But, yeah, Goldar looks dope. I'm probably going to get Goldar at GameStop when it comes out.
All right, let's move on to our next bit of news. San Diego Comic-Con is right around the corner, and I'm sure Ryan Parrott's getting pumped up for it because I'm sure he's going to be there, and as we all are. But in San Diego Comic-Con, here's an exclusive that nobody asked for, but we're getting it. However, listen, Razor scooters are still a thing. I believe it. I really do believe it. The color scheme is great. This is the Green Ranger Tommy edition of the Razor scooter.
Right.
Listen, for what they did to transfer it into a Power Rangers, I do think it looks pretty cool, though. If I was going to get a Razor scooter, I would get that. Razor scooter, I would get that.
Only reason I want to get this is because of the box. I don't know what else is going to happen with that. I'm probably going to end up probably giving it to someone. Maybe we'll do a giveaway here. I don't know. But I want that box.
I'm not waiting
we'll
in line
give
for
it
a
away.
scooter, man.
We'll give it to someone on their own. Those Razor scooters
well,
are
I'm not going to lie.
Man.
Listen, if I get this Razor scooter at Comic-Con, I'm definitely going to use it because getting around Comic-Con's a hassle in general.
So this might
have a function.
All those Lime bikes and all the scooters going.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can't. What about when you're in the convention? When you're actually in the convention,
well, you're not riding a Razor scooter inside the convention.
I will. I'm just gonna go around like that.
As the yellow jacket
sir.
immediately.
They're like, excuse me, sir. I'm like, get out of my way. I'm just gonna scoot through. I'm just gonna.
Jezzer almost got in trouble with one of those other motorized scooters at Comic-Con last year.
Oh yeah, well, it's because I was in a crosswalk. I didn't know.
He's in the social media command center.
That's what we should call it. Well, Migdalia ran over a kid. She texted me. I just ran over a kid with those scooters.
What?
Yeah, they go pretty fast.
Well, because last year was the first year that we had them at Comic-Con. So that's where we really started seeing them pop up everywhere. But yeah, are you gonna? Do you plan on getting this? I mean, it's cool if you're a collector.
I may. How much is it? What's the price tag?
I'm not sure. I think it's $100. It's probably over $100.
Yeah.
No, man, come on. If it's $100, I'm in.
Really?
I will spend $100 for that.
And I want to see you using it.
I told you. Mm-hmm. I will. The yellow vest will chase me because I am down.
Jezzer, you're not so inclined. Because I will be getting the Lightning Collection dual pack. Yeah, that's definitely the one thing in San Diego.
I'm going to be in line with you on Wednesday.
That's right.
We're going to go there.
And our last bit of news, this is a big one, and it's been causing a lot of buzz around the Ranger community, and that's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, issue number 40. My goodness, me oh my. The way that this story starts off is amazing, and the way that it ends is even better. But I did a little bit of a video review on this one. This is the first time I did one of these. Let's go to the video so that way you can get my full-on review and breakdown of what this issue was about. Today, we're going to be talking about Necessary Evil, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 40, written by Ryan Parrott and illustrated by Danielle DeNucleo. Issue 40 starts off right where Shattered Grid ended, and the Morphin Masters tell the Rangers that they can shape things the way that they were before, well, kind of, won't be exactly the same, or they can shape things into new existence. The Rangers choose to put things back to normal, as best they can, but the Morphin Masters say they won't remember the events of Shattered Grid or meeting each other. The Rangers aren't saving the world, they're saving all of them, says Kimberly. Now, I'm really curious to see what things have changed and what things haven't changed. Now, currently we see the Rangers fighting Nefarious in London, and we see the appearance of the White Ranger into battle. He's calling out maneuvers using Saba, and I couldn't wait for the White Ranger to show up and kick some ass. After defeating Nefarious and the Putties, the Rangers are back in the command center, and Tommy is revealed to be the White Ranger, so that's still the same. And it's also revealed that Rocky, Adam, and Aisha are now the Red, Black, and Yellow Rangers. I've been waiting for them to show up for a while now. Kimberly seems passive-aggressive to the new Rangers, and Tommy tells everyone to go home. As he leaves, Tommy asks Zordon how they did. Zordon's kind of nice about it, saying the teamwork is improvisational. Tommy complains that there's side effects to his new White Ranger powers, and he's never tired, like ever. Zordon says it'll take some while to get used to his new powers, but he was chosen for a reason. On the Moon Palace, we get Lord freaking Zed. Yes, This is like right dab in the middle of season 2. Lord Zedd's talking about banishing Rita, and he's about to change the rules for the Rangers. The Rangers are training in a simulated battle. We get to see the Phoenix Thunderzord. Aisha makes a decision not to follow Kimberly's orders, and Adam questions it. The Rangers are swarmed by the putties and lose in the simulated battle. Billy tells Tommy this is a no-win scenario, one that Tommy himself has ran a ton of times. Billy thinks they're almost where they were when the team was led by Jason, but that's not good enough for Tommy. At school, Aisha, Rocky, and Adam talk about training. Aisha shows her frustration, and this is a departure to the upbeat Aisha that we had on the show. This makes the outsiders from Stone Canyon feel more real. We know that there's been 2 months that have passed, and in that time they've done a lot, but it doesn't feel like enough for the trio. Back on the Moon Palace, Zedd meets with the aliens, delivering a box to him with something dangerous in it. We're introduced to Dane. Zedd wants him to take out the Rangers, and it looks like Dane might be from Doggy Kruger from SPD's home planet, Sirius. At the juice bar, Skull introduces Bulk to his new girlfriend Candace, while Tommy, Billy, and Kimberly are enjoying shakes. Tommy seems to be putting a lot of pressure on himself to live up to being the leader that Jason was. Billy mentions that he talked to Trini, who was at the Peace Conference, and says that he's going to video chat them later, but Tommy tells him to say hi for him, and he leaves. Kimberly says that they went to talk peace, while the others stayed to fight the war. Now, I love what they're doing here with Tommy. I think it's really interesting with his resentment towards the 3 that left, if it is resentment at all. It's very interesting to see where this one goes. During the video chat with Billy, Jason, Zach, and Trini are seen, and it looks a little staticky. Kimberly is also with Billy. They are asking about the new Rangers, and Billy says that they're good, they're not them, but it's not a bad thing. We come to reveal from the point of view of Jason, Zach, and Trini that they are all in new suits. What does this mean? Jason, Zach, and Trini have new powers? Did Zordon send them on a secret mission? What is going on? I can't wait to find out what Necessary Evil has in store for us. That was my review of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 40. I give the story here a 4.5, and I'm going to give the art a solid 5. I really like the art style in this one. I can't wait to see where Necessary Evil goes, and I can't wait till next month. Thank you all for watching. I am Joe with That Hashtag Show. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button to stay up to date with everything trending in geek pop. Needless to say, I loved issue 40. Great kickoff to Ryan Parrott's run on MMPR, and I think it's perfect, right where we take off. You read it.
Oh, man, I loved it. Once again, Ryan Parrott, I don't know if people even know, but he is currently my favorite writer. So almost anything he puts out, I'm like, okay, I need to read it. I need to see what's going on. And I love to talk about it with a lot of people. And speaking about talking with a lot of people.
Not yet.
No?
Wow.
Oh, dang, I had a beautiful transition.
We are going to
do
it. You throwing to him?
That's what I was doing.
Yeah, go for it. Do it then.
I was like talking about speaking stuff with a lot of people. We got Jezer over there in the social media command center. What are people saying, man?
People are talking about Walgreens and the reopening of Toys R Us. Do you guys like that idea? They said it's going to be one third size of Toys R Us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down with a new Toys R Us.
Yeah,
that was a big part of my childhood is Toys R Us.
Yeah.
So
man, dude, it was where I spent like a lot of weekends and moments.
It's where my dad spent a lot of money. So.
Yeah, it was like moments where my mom would leave us with my dad. My dad was like, I don't know what to do to entertain these kids. Just take them to Toys R Us. We'll run around. We'll open toys and never buy anything, and then we'll go eat after.
Yeah.
So
what else? So who's talking? Who's talking in the chat?
There is also a lot of talks about Doggy Kruger. Flash says, "I love seeing more of Doggy Kruger's alien race. So awesome." But you didn't. You're just speculating.
In my review, it's speculation. But how can it not be from the planet Sirius? I believe.
Come on,
planet
man.
Sirius.
Yeah.
A lot of people said it's evil Doggy Kruger. No, it's a character named Dane, who's a new character, which I'm really excited to see. But I'm excited to see. This is what I love about the comic is that you get a deep dive into a lot of the Power Ranger planets that we don't touch upon very often. We know that Sirius is destroyed, but when did it get destroyed? How did it get destroyed?
Exactly.
That's something hopefully that we get touched on. But we get a little bit of backstory on Dane. I'm excited to get a little bit of backstory on Dane. I'm excited to see where he ties in.
Dude, and he looks like he's a badass. Like, honestly. You automatically look at him, he's got the scar on his face. I love the name or idea of Dane. It's like Great Dane, blah, blah, blah. I love that whole thing.
It's Doggy Kruger.
Exactly, right? So I am excited to see him go somehow toe-to-toe with the Rangers. He looks like just a badass bounty hunter, and I'm like, yeah, this is it.
What else we got in the chat, Jezer?
Looks like, they're still talking about Necessary Evil. They're excited for the new issues. See, they're saying season 2 felt like a little twist in the issue with it. Yeah, it's definitely a twist with the new. Then at the end of the comic and the to be continued, it just kind of leaves you like,
Oh, that image! Like you, people have been staring at it and just speculating,
yeah,
running with it for a
the suits
while.
look awesome.
Look at that! Oh,
Look at those suits, man. How beautiful. You know what initially jumps out at me, though, with those suits is that Jason's color isn't necessarily... It doesn't look like Red Ranger to me. It looks more like maroon, kind of like...
right?
What were the Thunder Rangers from...
Crimson and Navy.
A little bit.
One,
It almost
nice
has that
one.
same color scheme as the red... the Crimson Thunder Ranger.
Yeah.
I am digging the fact that like I'm seeing like the shoulder pads, the shields. I'm like, man, oh, this is just great. This is the power up or the change up I feel these characters deserved, and I'm glad to see it actually come to fruition right there.
So keep your chats coming. We have Jezzer in the Social Media Command Center that changed from the Zordon Wall to the Social Media Command Center. But Jezzer's in the Social Media Command Center taking your comments, and we're going to be going back to that.
You
Jezzer,
could
got
also
a few more?
use the super chat button if once Ryan comes on. You guys have some questions for him because it's Saturday and it's TGIS, so you know that the chat moves really quickly. So that super chat button helps highlight your question, keep it on screen for a little bit, so that we can get to it and ask the questions. We also have a special Patreon that we introduced last week for Power Rangers Cosmic Protectors. I know a few of you are super excited about that. It's the our version, our little motion comic or comic of.
Well, it's a lot, man. It's a
It's a lot.
hybrid audio drama.
Yeah.
It's also a motion comic. It's a lot.
And if you guys sign up, you'll get a special video or audio clip of Daniel doing some voiceover for his purple Ranger character.
Yeah, and there's also going to be different tiers that are introduced to that, and that's going to be coming. I think we're
Definitely.
putting those
Yeah.
up today. I
Yeah,
think.
So you guys, I'll send it back to Joe.
Oh, wait. You got shirts, too, right?
Oh yes. Oh, actually yes. You guys also know that we have a TeePublic store right
Those
there.
Power Ranger movie poster shirts. I dig it.
You
Right
guys-
now, you actually have one on. What do you have?
Yeah.
The Fast and the Furious one on?
Yeah, I have my favorite movie franchises, Fast and Furious. Look at that. I love it. I actually I told you guys I was at the mall. I was at a mall, and you probably don't know who the character is, but he was the guy that jumped through a window in Fast 5, where Paul Walker jumped through a window too.
I
And
definitely
he
don't know
stopped-
who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
he stopped me in the mall, and he saw me wearing the shirt. He's like, I was in that movie. I was like, really?
You're in Power Rangers Turbo?
You're in Power Rangers Turbo, really?
So you guys hit up TeePublic. They have sales every so often. I think like $14, $13 for shirts. So that's a pretty good deal on.
You want to? If you can throw a link in there, that would be great. I
The
don't know
link
if you
is
can.
in the bio, and there's also a link
There it
for
is.
the
Toku Kid just threw it in there.
Patreon for Cosmic Protectors.
Now, what I want to do is break down issue 40, but it would only be right if we did it with the author of issue 40,
I would
Ryan
think
Parrott.
it's a little bit better if we did.
So Ryan, welcome to the show.
Oh, look at that! I love that little transition too. It's beautiful.
Thank you for my lovely tea.
Yes, let's hear it for Ryan, right?
Oh, you guys are too kind.
So much,
We love it.
so much for us to talk about, and I'm actually shocked that I was able to get you on because issue 40 had just dropped, and it was the talk of the Power Ranger town, and you're like, yeah, let's do
Well,
it.
it was either this or go to the gym. So.
And I'm so happy you live 5 minutes away.
Oh yeah, this is awesome. Thank you. Appreciate
Every
it.
issue, I'm just going to bring you back.
Right, man. Hey,
Let's break this down. Let's break this down a little bit. Now, coming off the heels of Shattered Grid, you know that you're taking over Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. How did this come about? How did you... And talk to me about the challenge of juggling both Go-Go and Mighty Morphin.
Well, I didn't know that I was taking over at Outer
didn't?
Shattered. Oh no. When we were doing Shattered Grid, I thought I was done with Go-Go. Like we thought we were done with Go-Go at like 2 or 3 different spots. Oh yeah, it was actually the fans buying the book that kept it going. Like each week it was sort of like,
So good.
All right, well we might make it a little bit longer. Maybe we'll give you a little bit. Like at one point I thought it was over at 14, and they're like, okay, maybe we'll get you the second run, and they're like, okay, at 20 it's over. And so I never knew. And then it was supposed to end. That's why we did the big end finale, Forever Ranger, because we're like, that's it.
Yeah.
But then about half after I'd finished writing, they're like, yeah, people like kind of want to keep going. So all right. But no, it was only about halfway. After Shattered Grid was over, I knew that Marguerite was doing her run with Beyond the Grid, which I love. I think it's really great. And
I just finished it last week.
And Simone, I think Simone is just like, I love his art. I think he got better with each issue. It's so cool. But they were like, yeah, would you be interested in taking over Mighty Morphin? And I was like, wow, yeah. I mean, sure, because I know Kyle. I was like, is that cool? But yeah, it was a little daunting because like Shadow Grid was literally had every Power Ranger ever. So how do you top it? How do you come out of that? So yeah, it was a little intimidating and complicated, but Kyle and I had a lot of conversations about what we would do if we kept going after.
Sure.
Just because, you got to know where you're going.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So there was a lot of stuff that is in 40 that came out of conversations I had with Kyle.
Really?
A lot of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it was a very intimidating, but like, I was like, having worked in GoGo for, I guess, 2 years now. Wow. It was like, oh wait, I get to go forward. I get to go to the point where like we kind of don't know where things are happening, as opposed to writing in the past all the time. So I was like, I got to do that. So yeah, I mean, it's intimidating and fun, but like we got a lot of stuff in store, and hopefully I don't. It's nice to come on at this point in the process because like I haven't messed anything up technically yet. I mean, well, if I have, you're like, maybe it'll get better next issue. So like I'm in a good spot.
Let me ask you, writing my Go-Go with Jason, Zach, Trini, Billy, and Kimberly, and then moving over to Mighty Morphin, and doing both, what have you learned from the original 5 that you kind of were able to implement into the Mighty Morphin run with their characteristics and stuff?
I think I didn't realize how much I liked the original 5. I don't know if that makes sense, but like they have like they're the ones I think of when I think of Power Rangers,
Sure.
and I grew up on it. I think a lot of people did, and so I sort of realized I was like, wow, I have a lot of affection for these people. I kind of know who they are in my head before I started writing, and that was really fun. However, when I got to writing like the new group, we can talk about that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
By the way, this is going to contain spoilers if you haven't read issue 40. I recommend stop this video right now, go to your local comic book store, go and buy it if they still have it, because that was a problem.
Oh, it
sells
sold
out.
out,
Does
man.
it? All right,
it
that's
was
nice.
gone.
And they look at all the nice people. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. This is cool. All right, I'll be here for a while.
There you go.
No, but I think the one thing that was different for me was like when I started writing when I brought Aisha, Adam, and Rocky in, like I don't know them as well. And I knew that, like, so when you write an ensemble book, it's like trying to figure out, like, okay, it's like a pie chart, a little bit, where like each person has a little bit of like, okay, everybody can't be, the angry one. They all have to, balance it out, like every comic book does, like every group. So I was like, I tried to use that to balance out the original team. So when I brought in the new ones, and I brought in Aisha, and Adam, and Rocky, I was like, okay, I need to try to get their voices close to what they were on the show, but I also want them to balance the team properly, because if you brought in 3 more Billies, it's going to be a weird show,
Exactly.
So that was fun, was like trying to find that nice balance between, who they were on the show and who I need them to be on the team. And the other thing is I've actually met some of them since, like I've met Karen and I've been around Aisha. So like seeing her in the real life, it's definitely affected the way that I write the character, because I love her. I think she's fantastic. And so like we've been out with groups of other actors, and she like other people have been there, and she's a leader. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna make her a little bit more of that, go forward, push forward kind of person. So like it's been fun to write a combination of who I thought they were, also with who the people I've met.
I love the fact too that there's that training session part, and Kimberly directly gives them orders, and Aisha's like, no, we're gonna do this. That makes a lot of sense. You had a question. I feel like it was brewing in your head.
I did actually, which is just one that we've kind of asked before. It's a softball question. You pretty much had it before. Just being able to, well, you know what? F it. I'm just saying. I was thinking about one, but I have another one, which is the responsibility of being able to like continue to flesh out what is already canon in Power Rangers. Yeah. How is that? It has to be daunting for you.
I mean, it's complicated. Because there's I met a lot of fans, and the nicest thing, like I just with the release of 40, I was actually on my birthday, and I actually I went down to Temecula, and I met a bunch of fans. It was fun. It was fun. I loved meeting the fans who love the book, because everybody comes in they love it for different reasons. Everybody has a favorite character. Everybody has a favorite episode. And it's been on for like I didn't realize it had been on for 25 years when I came back on the book. I was like, wait, what? And I've gone since then and seen a lot of it. But like. It's just everybody has a different. It's a little bit like Doctor Who. It's like the American version of Doctor Who.
It is.
Yeah, I might have said this before. Yeah,
I compare that to totally.
Yeah, it's like everybody has a favorite. Like everybody has a favorite Doctor. Everybody has a favorite season of the show.
That's right.
And that's what the internet's for, to debate these things. So yeah, for me, I know there's a lot of people who have a lot of faith and a lot of love for this stuff. So you want to be respectful. You want to be you have to be understanding of trying to give everybody. I mean, it's one of the things it's hard thing about a 22-page comic book is I've got over a dozen characters that I have to, more than that, honestly, if I'm being honest. You have a dozen characters you have to give a moment to. So I'm trying constantly to give everybody a little bit of moment in time, because I don't want a person to pick up an issue and go, Billy's my favorite character. Billy wasn't even in that issue. You know, like I don't want that. So it's like it's constantly trying, because I know when I was a fan, that would bother me. So like it's just balancing that out, finding that, but also like you said, the mythology. There's a lot of people who are really, really invested in this, and I want to make sure that I respect that investment.
Now, this issue, number 40, puts us, if we're following show canon, puts us right in the middle of season 2. Now, there's a big responsibility here for 2 reasons. This is 3 first appearances that are all happening. Lord Zedd's in the comic, if you don't count the crossover with the Justice League.
Right.
The White Ranger, who did appear very briefly in the Kimberly, when Kimberly had her own Pink Ranger series. He was in it for a little bit.
It was like a video of thing,
Yeah, video,
right?
yeah.
It's like, what's up? I'm busy.
Right. And then Rocky, Adam, and Aisha. So you have to, play service to this. Why are we in this time era? Why did you choose this time era in the time jump in order for us to kick off in issue 40?
Well, okay, so So I've said this before, but it makes the most sense. That's why I keep saying it. So when they were like, hey, so we want you to come back on the book, I was like, okay, well, how do we come back? Like, we want to plant a flag to come back. And so we're like, well, I started looking back. I was rereading some of the original issues, and I was like, well, Mighty Morphin Zero starts with the arrival of the Green Ranger. It's Tommy joining the team. It's dealing with all of the, he's dealing with all the, he's seeing visions of Rita. He's dealing with, he's shifting up the team. He feels like the outsider. And so we're like, well, how do we come back? And so I realized if we jump forward to the arrival of the White Ranger, we could do the exact same thing. It could be about the moment that Tommy is now taking over as the leader of the team and is dealing with this new group of powers and how it's affecting him and it's impacting his relationships on the team. And also, if we bring in a new team, the Stone Canyon Trio, it's about the thing that I really like about the balance of the book, where having it be at this moment, was it's the moment where Tommy hasn't really been the leader very long.
Right.
And the difference is, in the original Power Rangers, they all became Power Rangers at the same time. They have the same experiences from the beginning all the way through until Tommy arrives, right? Which is what I was writing for so long. But now you've got like an old guard. You have Kimberly and Billy who've been doing this for a while, and then Tommy, who sort of was the outsider who kind of came into the middle, and now he's got a new group of outsiders. So he has to balance the old guard and the new guard with who don't have those shared experiences. Sure. And it seemed like a really great way to sort of, like, it's always good to start a book right at the point where everybody's sort of not on their best footing, and that just seemed like the best place to do it.
With Rocky, Adam, and Aisha, what are you discovering when you're writing these characters now? Because I'm
still finding their voices, honestly. I'm like 5 or 6 issues in, and I'm like, is that right? Is that
I mean, look, when I read Aisha, I was telling you off camera that it felt more real to me. Like, this Aisha felt more real to me than the TV show a little bit.
Thank you. That's nice to hear.
So I'm curious, like, what traits are you noticing that we're going to see a little bit from them? Because Adam was the shy one, and then he kind of blossoms in Zeo.
Yeah.
And then by the time you get to Turbo, he's ready to take over.
Yes, he is, yeah. That guy, he's an amazing martial artist. Yeah. I was looking at some of his... Yeah, he's incredible. Yeah, I was really impressed. I went back. Because he's shy, I think he sort of was like kind of blended back into the background a little bit, but then you see him fight, I'm like, dang, man, that guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I'm finding their voices in the sense that, like, I'm the same way that I tried to find the elements of the characters in Go-Go and just try to accentuate them and bring them out a little bit and try and strengthen. That's what I'm trying to do with them a little bit, and a little bit less time, obviously. But like I also looked at it in the sense of, like, with Jason, Trini, and Zach leaving, like, they take something with them. Like, Zach is the easier one to write in the book because he's fun. He's funny. Right. He can undercut. You can have a scene where Alpha and Zordon and Billy are talking about the craziest weird technological babble, and then Zach can just be like, I don't know what's going on. You can just bring him in. He can just I use him all the time to just undercut scenes, but I just don't know what's going on. So I was like, I need that energy. I need that. It's most way because I'm not as scientific as people have pointed out to me on the internet constantly. I'm not a scientist, but I mess that stuff up. But, like, I just realized with Zach leaving, I need to find that kind of sort of comic energy again. And weirdly enough, Rocky actually is the one who's starting to. I found that in Rocky because he's a little bit of the. Oh, shucks, man, I'm just kind of happy to be here. And, like, and, like, I kind of love that, it's just sort of like, the I am Groot approach to it. Yeah.
I love Rocky, too, because he's the first Ranger, at least in the era, that, like, isn't doing the best in school.
Yeah.
And he totally is just like the goof off.
Yeah.
Like he is just happy to be there.
Yeah.
What's the episode? Is it the Plinko machine?
Yeah,
like to me,
Rocky just wants to have fun.
Yeah, that's literally the. I mean, if you're looking for where I'm trying to define that character, that's the episode.
That's the
I'm doing
episode.
it. I'm just like, maybe that's not the right way to do it, but that's just the way. That was the one that had the most personality.
That's one of my favorite Rocky episodes.
Yeah.
That's definitely.
So like that's where that's the base for that
Yeah.
character.
Now, with the characters, moving on into just breaking them down, I've got to ask the question of what is up with you and Rangers when it comes to relationships, not being able to actually have them. Kimberly with Skull, Kimberly and Matt, now Trini and Jason. People like Kimberly and Matt, they couldn't be together because he didn't get to know everything. Now, Trini and Jason, they know everything, and they still can't be together. And I'm just like, there's no such thing as a happy ending when it comes to being a Ranger.
There's no such thing.
So why is that? Is there something that just kind of drives you for that, where you're just like, no, it just, no matter what, it just can't be?
Well, I didn't realize I was so brutal. That.
You're George R. R. Martining their love.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All the red wedding we do in the grove. That'd be terrifying. I think I always look at it as like when I was writing the book, and if this I might be taking myself too seriously with saying this, but like I always look at being Power Rangers as a metaphor for being responsibility. When you're in high school, you don't really have you think you have responsibilities, but you really don't. Not yet. It's when you get to college and world, and you know when you have like a mortgage and stuff, like that's what you really do. But it feels like the problems you have are these huge things, and there's that really crazy transition. I don't know if you guys felt it, but like when you become a senior in high school, it's the first moment people are like, okay, what are you doing the rest of your life? Like all of a sudden you have to figure out, you have to start deciding about what college you're going to go to, and like all these responsibilities start to kind of hit you at the same time. So that's what I always looked at being Power Rangers as, just a big metaphor for that. It's just like there's a scene in, I think it was like issue 3 where Mrs. Appleby's talking to Billy and he's like, look, I know it feels like your responsibility is to save the world, but it's not. Just do your grades. And he's like, I wish it was that simple, because that's what it feels like, right? It's just a big feel. So I look at the same way of like, that's the problem. Like most people's relationship, what gets in the way of them is either themselves or, you know, sort of outside circumstances where you're not the right place in your life kind of thing. You know, it's more difficult. So like, that's the way I looked at it with Kim and Matt, was like their relationship. It was that they might have been, had Kim never become a Power Ranger, it's quite possible those two might have ended up together. Like they might have been, and I wanted that relationship. I wanted you to feel like, oh man, I really liked that. I liked them together. I like the way that feels, and then I get teared apart because I feel like that's the frustration of it. And then the same thing, I like the idea of, but I didn't want it to be where like, oh, being a Power Ranger keeps you from the people you love. That's not true. Okay. So I was like, I needed to show the other side of Jason and Trini, which is that it can actually having that shared secret can actually bring you together, but then it's also more complicated. Like every relationship is complicated in those ways. So I felt like it was
like a workplace relationship.
Exactly. It's exactly what it is. It's totally work. I mean, we all had workplace relationships. And that's the thing. It's like you have that secret and it's kind of fun, but at the end of the day, it's like it actually gets in the way. So it's just finding all of the things in real life that you can apply to just being Power Rangers, and I think that hopefully makes it feel real.
Yeah, it does.
And hopefully that's where, I mean, I just find the truth of like, oh, it'll be fun. So I don't try to be mean to them, but I do think that like, it's just like, you know, and also how many relationships in high school, like, they never work out. They work out. I broke up with a girl one time because she didn't want to go see a Dave Matthews Band concert with me. All right, so like I get it.
Wow.
Like, yeah, I know. It was
tell me you're gonna write that in.
Yes, I need that to happen.
They're all gonna go be Dave. They won't even know who Dave Matthews Band is.
It's interesting you say that though, because there is that scene where Trini's kind of like telling Jason like, hey, how come you didn't have my back with this Alpha One thing? Yeah. And it's like, man, you know how many times I've been in a situation like this, and I was the Jason of being like, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Just what?
Yeah, that was my approach. Like, that's the thing about Jason Trini I love, was like, I liked that Trini was the one who had the crush on him in the beginning, and then when he found it, he was like, cool, all right, and then they kind of worked it. But the funny thing was, to me, was like Trini ended up becoming like the leader of the group. Like, she's the one who's like, we got to be responsible about this. Like I love that she almost evolved past her crush, and she was the one kind of in the driver's seat. And that thing I thought was important, because I feel like Jason's not the most socially aware when it comes to women and stuff like that. I think he's good in a battlefield. I think he's good at tactical stuff. I think he's good at understanding like regimented things. But I think understanding emotional. Like, look at his parents. Like, he's never had that like.
His dad never wore sleeves. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. But he never had that emotional. Like, you've been around people who have parents that are like a little bit emotionally distant. Like, he's not gonna have that vocabulary, and I feel like Trini realized that.
Well, I mean, in the comments, you changed his dad up a little bit, and he has cancer.
Yeah.
I never said cancer.
Oh, you didn't say cancel. That's true.
We'll see. There's more to come with that.
Okay, because I was going to ask about that. One question I do have about issue 40, though, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue 40, is this is my personal question. Does Tommy hold resentment for Jason, Zach, and Trini for leaving, or is he just struggling with the ability to live up to being a leader as he sees Jason was?
Both.
Okay.
Yes, I think both. I think the way that, and you'll see more of this in Go-Go Power Rangers. So if you read Go-Go 21 comes out in, I think, 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Like, you'll start
July
to...
10th, I believe?
Yeah. You'll start to see a lot more about why... Oh, thanks. Sorry, I get distracted by people saying I'm awesome and more phenomenal. I'll take that.
Man, people love
yeah, I think you'll see where his feelings about them leaving for the peace conference manifest. I just feel like they just bailed. Like in their eyes, like in the show, there's like, oh, by the way, it's just like, what? I thought we were a team. We were doing this. Like, we're defending the world. You're gonna go like Kimberly says that line. They went off to go talk peace
line.
while we have to fight the war. Like that's gonna be. And also with like and they like the new trio. It's just like it's harder. You made our lives harder because you left, and I'm gonna have resentment for that. You know what I mean? So
Hold on 1 second. Pause that. Jezzer, let's go to the social media command center. What are people saying in the chat?
People are saying they're talking about how awesome Ryan is. Daniel Diaz. Let's see what else. They're talking about the comics. They're saying out of all the comics, Ryan, that you have written, which is your favorite and why?
Oh, so far it's Go-Go, 100%. Like Go-Go's the first thing that I got to do kind of by myself. Like it was the thing. Like I got the first book I ever wrote was Batman.
Right.
I got really lucky. My first line of Batman was like Bruce Wayne talking. I'm like, this is so weird. Yeah, that was all because Kyle was like, hey, I need some help. But I did Batman. I did Star Trek for a little while. But like Go-Go was the first book that I was like, and actually. It's the first time I realized I actually wanted to say something. Like I was like, oh, there's things in this that I want to talk about. Like there's a lot of my own personal stories that are in that book.
Oh, yeah.
That was really fun, and I never realized that Power Rangers would be the place I got to tell that story. And I think that's one of the nice things about the comic books is that they can move at a much slower pace than the TV show. The TV show you have 1/3 of the show is going to be about character development. The other 2/3 is going to be about monster battles and just like the mythology of the show. Like you just don't have the time. So, but Go-Go with the comic, I actually got to slow down and that was all because of people at Boom. They were like, we want this book to be 80% teenage life and 20% fighting giant robots and monsters. And I was like, okay, which was really scary at first. But then to me, I realized that the more time you spent with them as people, the more the fights mattered. Like that thing that I realized is like in a putty fight in the original show, I felt like it was sort of like just showing off the actor's abilities a little bit. Like that, like a putty never like is gonna take Zack and snap his neck. Like it's like
oh my god,
I mean, insane, right?
Yeah,
but like
immediately cancel.
Like there's the show. Yeah, but like they never did that. So for me, I was like, okay, the fighting's cool, but like there was no real movement in story really.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I realized when you have 80% of the stories about being just a normal kid, all of a sudden you can use those fights in different ways to reveal characters in new and interesting ways and have there be a impact. And so yeah, that's the thing that I really loved about writing is I learned a lot from Go-Go about how to write that I didn't know before I started. So that's why it's my favorite.
Jezzer, what else have we got in the social media command center?
Someone had mentioned that they like the suits, and are they going to see the Die Ranger suits?
That was Matthew Thompson.
Yeah.
In the show?
In the comic.
Or in the comic?
Yeah.
They weren't in Shattered Grid?
No, the Die Ranger suits.
Oh, Die Ranger. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said Dino Ranger. I was
yeah.
Die Ranger suits.
Guys?
I know what those are. I don't have any plans to use them. I don't have any plans to use them. I'll just say that. So, I know what they are, though. I think they're very cool. Yeah. Those are the ones that went with the original White Ranger, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get distracted.
No, Dino Ranger.
Just lost all credibility amongst Power Ranger fans right there.
No,
Dino Ranger's not even a thing.
But you just showed up and just hit it.
What else you got, Jezzer?
Well, I have a question. So you get for this comic, you get to fix some of the things that they messed up with the original series. Like they really shit the bed with the whole body doubles and just the really
How do you
bad.
really feel?
Yeah, I'm sorry, they did, but they just really like kind of ran right through it. But you have the opportunity to kind of like go over these and give more story to some of these things that they kind of like half-assed, I guess. Is that something that interests you? Do you go through the series and try to find little things that you want to add to in the original canon.
Oh yeah, I mean, I felt the same way you did when I was a
Yeah.
kid. Like I remember watching the original series and being like, "Wait, Jason?" Like, because Jason was my favorite. I was like,
Yeah.
"He just left the show. Why?" And he just left the show such an odd way.
Yeah.
Like he didn't like die or anything. Just like I'm bailing, and I was like,
And he gets his powers taken away.
"Yeah,
It's super cool.
Yo.
I know." And they don't take the help. Like
Or his leadership taken away. He gets his leadership
Yep.
taken
in
away.
one, he
Yep.
gets his powers and leadership taken away within 30 seconds. And it's just like, that's crazy, right? Like, as a kid, I didn't know what was going on, but I
In
thought
a
that was
sentence.
an awkward choice. So, yeah, I think that was something that I was always like, there's got to be an answer to this. There's got to be something else narratively because when I got older and found out all the stuff that was actually going on behind the scenes, I was like, okay, that makes more sense, but like, maybe we can make that make more sense. You know, maybe we can fix that. And there's lots of little things I think that are fun. Like, there's also lots of little questions I had that I was always like, the one thing I always thought was interesting was like, I deal with this a little bit in Go-Go with the powers and stuff, is like, are you a Power Ranger? Or are you the way you are because of your powers, or are your powers the way they are because of who you are? Like, because if you go through all of the history of Power Rangers, like certain colors kind of went with certain skill sets, right?
Yep.
Not all the time, it's not 100%,
Yeah.
but like a lot of times. And I thought that was kind of interesting to play with.
Oh, that's interesting. That's something I probably even never.
No, it just thought that was kind of like inside the way
question.
that Star Trek. You know, it's like, you know, they have like
The red shirts,
Yeah,
yeah.
red shirts, and like I was like, there'd be something interesting of like I always wondered like we kind of talked about this when I walked in. Is like would he have invented the rad bug if he had never become a Power Ranger? Maybe, maybe not. And so like and I was like, I want to
Yeah.
deal with that. I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Like the Red Ranger. Are you the Red Ranger? Are you the leader because you're the Red Ranger? Or does the Red Ranger make you the leader?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So like when Trini when they did the color swap in that issue, like Trini becomes a little bit like Jason. She's the one who's leading the fight, but like, is that because she's now the Red Ranger, so she has to do it, or is it actually affecting her and making her do that? I don't know. It's just I don't have an answer. I just think I like posing those questions.
So there's I'm pretty sure it was in one of Kyle's issues where it's either you or Kyle. It's obviously one of the two of you. Where Zordon is talking with Zach, and Zach's a little upset. And he's like, "How come I wasn't chosen to be the leader of the team?" Oh. And then Zordon pretty much tells him, "Well, you have all the qualities to be the leader of this team, but Jason needed it. You didn't."
Yeah, I think that was me.
That was you, right?
I think that was me.
So with that mindset, is that pose more to your question of like, is it the person that you are that dictates the leader, or is it because would you say Zach's officially the second in command?
He feels like it. Yeah, he feels like it a lot. Yeah, even though he's the one who kind of actually, I'll make an
Trini?
argument. I would make it maybe it's Trini.
I always
feel
thought that when I was a kid too.
Yeah, because like so I actually talked to Austin about this because I got to meet Austin at one of the things and I was like, have you read Go-Go? And he's like, no, I haven't. I was like, oh, good. So I gave him a copy of the book, and I got to watch him reading it, which is the worst thing in the world. You're like, watching the person you like wrote behind, like, please do not throw that thing down or something. And he like chuckled, and I'm like, what's the joke? What's the joke? But anyways, he read it, and he was like, he told me, he's like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here that is like actually like similar to my upbringing, and I was like, yes.
Oh, really?
But yeah, and so I asked him about Twee, and I was like, how do you? Because I was like, I'm doing a love story thing between you two, and he's like, oh yeah, like that would be the one that I would have. If nothing had ever happened between them, but he's like, she was the soul of the team. Like when she talked, everybody listened. And I was like, okay. And when I hear that, I'm like, I think I want to play with that. I like the fact that she's sort of the quiet, introspective one, but when the time comes, I feel like she would have been the leader. Maybe that.
Well, even on the show, I felt with the original 5, she was actually the one that was the most balanced written.
Exactly.
Yep.
If you listen to all the words she's saying, she's always telling Jason to like calm and find your inner peace, and like she's the one who's like there's that very zen approach to things.
She's also translating for Billy all the time.
Exactly. Like that, she does that thing where she's in the middle there. Like not to say that Zach couldn't be the leader. I think Zach would be a great leader if he had to be, and I feel like that's not necessarily something that he needs to do. Like I don't know. Yes. So the answer is I think they both could be, but I liked Trini stepping into that role because she's the quieter one. You could see the growth in her. Yeah.
We have a couple super chats, right,
Yes,
Jezzer?
we do. The first one we got from JHero7. He says, I'm loving the twist on MMPR Season 2 in issue 40, but I miss Zach's dreads. that was the most fun part of Season 2 for me, but even the show switched that up. Can't complain too much. Great job, Ryan. We also have another one from Brent Darby from the UK. He says, any shows after MMPR you'd like to fix?
I like the way that's
loaded.
That's posed.
It is.
It is, right?
Not not specifically. Like I really like working in this time frame and in this area just because it's the one I'm the most familiar with and I have the most emotional sort of connection to. But not any specifically. Like there's a lot to do some really good stuff. Like I like SPD a lot. I think SPD is really cool.
It's like my favorite sequel.
Yeah.
Well, that and RPM are my two favorite sequels.
Yeah. And I like that. I just think like there's like the idea of the A team B team stuff was really clever. Like they knew, like the fact that they knew that's what they were gonna do. I was like, that's really good.
That was
so like I wouldn't fix that. Like, but I don't necessarily know if it's like fix, but like I would say this. I think it would be really fun to look at like Dino Charge or Time Force and sort of do the same sort of style of storytelling with Go-Go and get into those worlds a little bit. That would be fun. I think that would be interesting. Not that those are broken. They're not. They're very, very good. I like those. But I think that's kind of why I like it. Would be like, I'd love to take some of those characters and just like, what's it like? What's it like at Time Force? Like slow things down just a little bit, you know? Like just really get into the day-to-day stuff. That would be fun.
You know, I know that Marguerite Bennett was she had the run prior to yours, Beyond the Grid. I would love to see her do almost a spin-off of the Aquitar Rangers, since she did a lot of the space stuff and said a lot of that stuff out there.
The thing she named things was like there's so many great names of places that like they feel kind of earthy, but like like they feel a little like I've never heard things referred to that. I was like, I love something that
She's great.
I was like, she's better at that than me.
But we have the super chat feature and Jezra over at the social media command center. So if you want to use that super chat to ask Ryan a question, please do so. But I have a question of my own for you. Okay. Talk to me, chat me up a little bit about Dane, if you will.
That's fun. Dane is fun. So this comes into the Zed of it all. So we were like, okay, Zed's coming in the book. I really loved writing Rita. Rita's fun, I was like, okay, so how do we make Zed different than Rita? Like we can't, because when we were jumping forward, we were jumping over his introduction, which is amazing and like maybe one of the high watermarks of the show. I mean, when he comes in, he feels like a threat like, immediately.
Well, even in this book, he feels still menacing. He's not like domesticated Zed, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, he's not. We're not getting there. Excuse me. So like we were like, okay. So this comes to the thing. I was like, okay, if Zed's coming in, I don't want to just have him send monsters down there and get upset about that. So I was like, okay, how can we figure out a way to change up his tactics? Sorry, I'm choking a little bit. I'm out of water. So we're like, how do we change up his tactics a little bit? And I was like, okay, well, he's got to have minions and people like Rita did, but we never really saw them on the show. I know they did pop up. I think there was some other, like maybe once or twice, but like, let's do this. So we were like, okay, let's have some fun with bringing in, like, he's got to have some buddies. And so I was like, it'd be cool to have him bring in sort of like his go-to hitman. And if we do that, that'll be a really fun character to write and thank you very much, a really fun character to sort of play with and do. And so we're like, and he went through a lot of different versions. There was a lot of like, it wasn't always, I always get it wrong. Is it Syrian, right? Or is it Anna?
Sirius?
Sirius.
From what I read, it's Sirius. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like, he wasn't always that. So it was like a bunch of different things. And then we were just like, we've got Shattered Grid. It opened up it opened up the universe, right? Yeah. And so I was like, well, we have the ability to tap into those shows. Like, I've never seen anybody else besides Doggy Kruger. It's a whole alien race. There's got to be other ones out there. And so we're like, let's do that. Let's bring in that. We like everybody. I love that character. Let's do that. So like, I thought it would be really fun to sort of try and do that. And I'd like to try and do more of that as we go forward, maybe in small ways. There is a little bit of, I don't want to do it just to do it. I don't want to just throw in stuff there because you guys will hate me for that. I don't want to do that either. But like throwing in a little bit here and there when it feels right for the show, when it feels interesting, is fun. But like, he's going to be really fun to write. He has a real fun personality.
If you had to compare him to any other character in any kind of pop culture we may have seen, who can you kind of compare him to?
Spike from Buffy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's who I'm writing.
Yo.
That's very interesting.
All right. That's a good analog.
I love this
right
question
there.
from Flash. He says, has Annabus Kruger's planet Sirius been destroyed yet at this point in time?
I'm going to say no comment because I don't want to mess this up yet.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Let me look that up. Let me think that.
Okay. Now,
Sorry.
Another, there you are.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
Another question I have for you is, I want to talk about the design of these. I'm not allowed to say this because we were talking about solicitations. The Omega Ranger suits.
Oh, that's the name.
Yeah, that's the name.
That's the name.
Let's talk about the design of these suits. Now, how much input did you have in the design of these?
Yeah.
A lot. It was a long conversation. It was months and months and months.
Really?
Yeah, it's a very, very long conversation.
I can't wait to see some of the rejected designs that like.
Yeah, right.
They're out there. No, they're not. They're not out there. But they exist. Yeah, no, it was a very long conversation. I don't want to say too much about them because you're going to learn a lot about them in 41. But yeah, it's a. I mean, whenever you're dealing with anything that's new Ranger wise, it's we dealt with the Ranger Slayer. I know they dealt with this with the Solar Rangers. Like there's certain elements that you need in every suit, but you want to try and find that unique way to sort of present it so that it feels different in like your own. And so we went through a lot of conversations about this. It's one of those things where it really is. It becomes bigger than the book in a sense because it has to. It's bigger than the story. Like, this is what they're going to be like. So yeah.
I wish you would have seen my reaction when I got to this page. Actually, it was just like, wait, what? Because it's just something you wouldn't expect.
Wow.
Just something you don't expect.
Honestly, you see it and you just smiled the whole way through, and then because of that, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna read this whole thing again. Like it was that good. Like it literally made me want to just let me just go back over this. It was just every bit of it was genius, and to find out that you as a writer, because usually you write up the script, you hand it over, and then you have your letterist, your artist, everything else, and they just kind of go unless you've given them little notes. And we were like, this is what I need to see, this is what I need to get done. And it's interesting, that you had such an impact on just like the Omega Rangers or the Omega suits.
The best thing about writing comics is that moment when you hand the script up and they're like, okay, it's all been approved, and then you get that first batch, because you get pencils in like sections, right? I get like 1 or 2 pages a day over the course of like 2-3 weeks, and like those are fun because like you're like, oh, like Knight and Daniele does such an Daniele just is the way he draws action is so amazing, and like his camera angles are so dynamic. So like I'll get a book, I was like, oh, that's not what I told him to write, but that's way better. Like, it's a lot of that. It's a lot of like him fixing the things that I messed up. Like I actually end up pulling a lot of dialogue out of the script as I get because there's stuff where I'm like, oh, I don't need that. I don't need that line. Or I don't need that he did it. He sold in a look what I don't need.
Really?
Yeah, it happens a lot. So if you look at 40, the 40 feels probably a little underwritten in some spots.
That's really fascinating.
Because I was just like, I don't need it. Like it's there. Like he like the thing, yeah.
Genius when it comes to emoting and showing like how the characters feel with a look.
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. Daniele does there's like an underappreciated thing in comics is about weight. If you look at his characters, they look like they're not. Like a lot of people not a lot, but there's a lot of people in comic books who draw characters that look like they're floating in space. They're not like standing on anything. And Daniele does this great thing where like people are always standing on. You can see where the weight in their body is. He does so much with character, just character like body movement that I'm like, that's great. Like there's character in people aren't just standing there.
No.
He does that's an underappreciated thing that you look at and you don't even realize it. He's so good at that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So let me ask you another question. Where did Necessary Evil come about? Like why the name Necessary Evil, and where did the concept kind of stem from without getting too much getting into spoilers?
Yeah. Well, I could probably, if you ask me this question again at the end of the run, I'll have a much different answer. Okay. But I'll give you sort of the safe answer is that I think everybody thinks they're doing things for the right reasons. And they made a whole Thanos. That's exactly what the whole point of Thanos is, that he thinks he's really saving the world, whether he is or not. But that's my. So we were just looking at this idea of like coming out of Shattered Grid. We wanted there to be consequences. We wanted there to be. I know that we reset stuff and people don't remember things, but like that was such a big event. It felt disingenuous to basically just reset things and have there be nothing that came out of it. Which is why the Omega Rangers are part of the story. It's why Zed and it's why the team is the way that they are, all that stuff. So we thought, okay, the idea of bringing in those consequences, it started to create this idea of, I'm just trying not to spoil everything, I'm sorry. It's just that idea of everybody thinks they're the hero of their own story. And that'll make more sense as you start to see the story unravel and you start to understand who the Omega Rangers are and what they're doing and why all that stuff. So I wish I could give you more, but it'll be clearer once you get a few more issues in.
No, that's great.
Oh, that's an amazing answer.
Do you think, now we talked about this is kind of you introduced King Lexion.
I did. Well, I didn't introduce him, but
in the comics, in the Alpha 1 kind of a storyline. Are you, and we talked about this off air, are there any chances we could see any other Kamen Riders or even Mass Rider pop up in any of these issues? Or is the possibility's there?
It's always there. It's just it really just comes down to page length and page space. Like I said, I've got over a dozen characters I'm having to in a lot of storylines you have to service, and so it's like, do you have the time to bring in that stuff? Do you have the time to really spend flexing all that stuff out? Because there's a lot of
Does it also still serve the story?
Yeah,
too?
it always has to. That's a perfect example. So I only brought in King Lexian because I wanted to introduce Alpha One, and so I only brought in that character in regards to giving some Zordon a contemporary to talk to, because in the book he's only a floating blue head in the sky, and he's not even you never see him at a point with somebody else where somebody can basically be like, dude, buck up. That's which is what King Lexian was doing. And I thought, okay, he helped build Alpha 1. He built Alpha 1. Well, obviously he built Alpha 5. So it makes sense that this is a guy who's a contemporary. And so I only brought him in regards to how he services Zordon's story. So I will say, so my answer to your question is, I will bring in anything if it helps service the story of the other characters, but it's only done if it actually merits it. So I don't like dropping stuff in just for fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Masked Rider and Kamen Riders, Toku Kid and Justin did a Henshin Hangout. They're going to be talking about the best Kamen Rider belts. Toku, Justin, take it away.
G-O!
Hello, welcome to Henshin Hangout. I'm Justin, and this is
Toku Kid.
And here we'll bring you a list of our favorite Kamen Rider belts, starting with Decade to Gyo. So here's our top, it's 11?
It's 11, yeah. Neo Heisei, basically.
Neo Heisei. So our worst to our favorites. Let's start with our first one.
Oh, it's easy. It's Ghost.
Ghost. Why Ghost?
Well, let's start off by saying we're not taking in the show into a factor.
Show's not in the factor.
It's just toy alone.
Toy alone, aesthetics. That's the main thing about this list.
And it's still Ghost.
But what's so cool about the Ghost belt?
The Ghost belt itself, it's just spooky in general. If you look closely, there's a little creepy face hidden under. Nice collectible gimmick, which it's just plastic.
Yeah.
Everything is in the belt, all the sounds.
Why the worst?
Because that's all it is.
It is. It really is. It doesn't really... The icons don't really do much.
Even the upgrades, it's just more eyeballs that go in the belt. Nothing extra that attaches.
Yeah. Kind of unexciting when you look at the rest of the belts in the list. Moving on.
All right.
Next one on the list is Kamen Rider Build, which we have no photo of.
No.
No picture, no physical copy of it, but let's just go into it and why do we not like?
It's another just useless kind of belt. You just pop the bottle in and that's it.
It's kind of unexciting when you look at the rest of the belt. It is just a wind up toy thing that isn't really...
It's just there. You just put a piece of plastic in, a couple sounds, and then that's it. Even the upgrades, like some minor sounds in the bottles, but that's all you get.
Yeah, agreed. And especially when you realize the other upgrades are just cans.
Soda can.
Soda cans.
A double can.
Doesn't really fit the aesthetic of the show either.
No.
Which is funny. My other problem with the belt is that it reminds me of our belt after this one.
Oh, you mean double?
Yes.
Oh, let's see. So basically, it's the same exact thing. You get two little USBs, you just plug in and make all the noises. And every upgrade after that is still two little pieces of plastic
that just
make all the noises.
I mean, it's still nice. That's cool that you can get a W literally in the belt. But you're right. That's as far as this goes.
It does get a 1-up though, because you got a special little extra attachment for a final tech that goes with the gimmick. So it gives a little bit extra do.
Yeah. What's that? Yes, we do.
Goes on for a while.
It does go on for a while. But this is the X8 belt. Explain.
Okay.
The X8 belt.
So just like the last one, it's another piece of plastic that does nothing. But the added feature of this is that it's designed better and it's more vibrant.
Right. It's kind of cool. When you open it up, put the thing in there real quick. Boom. That is kind of cool. The little inside guy.
You get your gamer icon going on.
It also doesn't really shut up very much, which is going to be a problem the further along we go.
Yep.
But okay.
All right.
After X8, we got the Destroyer of All Worlds' his belt.
One of the best Kamen Riders.
Bring it up.
The Deca Driver.
No, this is kind of cool for a couple of reasons. One, it's kind of the classic. It's the most classic looking Kamen Rider belt. It looks like the most traditional Kamen Rider.
Yeah, I'll give it
in terms
that.
of the Heisei's, of the Showa stuff. But what else is kind of neat about this belt?
It has the most collectible gimmick, I think, that can keep going on forever. Kamen Rider cards.
Yeah.
That you can get for every single rider, every single form, every single tech, and every single little catchphrase they have.
Yeah.
But
Quite literally.
the only problem with this belt is you only get like 3 special sounds from.
Yeah, after a while, variety kind of gets a little.
They all become the same exact sound after a while because they didn't program that many into the belt in the first place.
Yeah. And keep in mind what the show was 2009.
2009, yeah.
Yeah, so literally a decade ago. So
It's where it needs to be.
it's where it needs to be.
Alright.
But hey, wait, what's that? 10 years after? What do we have after that?
We got Decade 2. We got Kamen Rider Geo's belt.
Remember this guy? I know we don't talk about him very much anymore, but we are going to bring up his belt. Kamen Rider Geo. What is it about this belt that makes it unique?
It's got more dynamic to it. It's more play with it, just because you get the added feature of putting in the watches and then spinning it out. If that worked correctly. And it also doesn't shut up.
That's one of the big problems of the belt, is that it does that for a while, even if you sneezed.
And when you have a second rider watch, it goes on for even longer.
That's why we're not putting it in.
And then if you've seen the final watch that comes out, it goes on for at least a minute or 2.
Boy, howdy. The show is 22 minutes. We only have so much time. But let's move on. We do have another belt. I'm psyched we don't have another belt. This belt is not with us right now. It is the Forze belt. But it's a rad belt. I do like the belt's
It's
interface.
fun for kids.
It is fun for kids. I like the countdown, and I even like much like the XA belt, it has like the kind of
Oh, you got the HUD.
the HUD. That is super cool.
Yeah. And it's really strange though, because it's a simple peg system for each switch.
Yeah.
But they all look like they have the same exact pegs, and somehow they make different noises.
It's kind of cool. Yeah.
No.
It's also the fidget. It's also like the fidget cube before the fidget cube.
It's got 40 different fidget switches.
Yeah, it does. Moving on. What do we have? It's showtime.
We got Wizard's belt, which is one of the cooler belts that came out in recent years, because there's RID chips or RFID chips.
Yeah.
The belt actually scans the rings. You don't have to actually touch or anything. You just wave it across and it scans it and knows instantly what you're using.
It's actually super impressive. Like, it's actually one of those things where it's like, if you don't know any better, it is vaguely magic-ish.
Oh, and the added feature is every ring, when they're scanned, it somehow knows to light up the LED inside.
That's really rad.
But it's also limited though, because after a while, the rings just become basic please or whatever noise or rider ring. But it still adds the little feature of lighting up.
Yeah, I even like the little hand middle that kind of creates a fun little gesture for that. So.
I don't like the placement of the hand, but it's fine.
No, well, it's because it's kind of...
It's a little too low.
A little too low?
No,
Does
it's
that make you
a little
uncomfortable? That's
a
why it's
little
not number one. All right, follow that up with Start Your Engines.
All you need is drive.
Do. This is an interesting situation. Unlike the other belts, this got a risk component.
It's very different.
Yeah.
Because every other belt, all you need was just the belt and the gimmick, or not even a gimmick. In this one, you have to have the added feature of a whole separate module that goes with it, which also sends a signal through a laser, I think?
Yeah. Which is kind of, again, that's rad. Much like the Wizard belt, the fact that you have an element here that can communicate with this element here is super neat. And, what was it, Mr. Drive, Dr. Drive?
Bono.
Bono,
Oh,
yeah.
no, that's his evil guy.
But it's kind of cool you get the face on here
Yeah.
as well, which is really, really nifty. And hey, because it's a car.
I also love that the wrist changer is also a gear shifter.
Yes, that's true.
They just keep everything in theme.
Which I do like. Moving on, we have... Count the medals. 1, 2,
And 3.
which is funny. There are, in fact, 3 pieces that he brought. O's. Kamen Rider O's belt. What is so cool about the O's belt?
It's the second most versatile.
Yeah.
Because with the O's belt, you get O's medals, which just gives you all kinds of varieties. Because you get your main color combos, which you get your lights and sounds, but every single medal can be mixed and matched to get a new form. So you're not limited. So do the math on that, and you can have hundreds of forms.
It's also kind of one of my favorite things about the kind of henshin movement with this guy is that you use this thing to scan the coins essentially, which it kind of creates a really fun like action movement.
You get the little movement, and plus too, this as a whole, you need the whole belt to function, because you have the holder, the actual buckle, and then the metal holder too that goes along the side.
Yeah, it's a very sleek looking belt too, which I also really enjoy.
I also love the theming on this because it's a coin slot machine. You put
Yep.
the coins in and you turn to the side.
Exactly. All right. I think that leaves us with one more.
One more, the final one, the
final
best
one.
one. That's Kamen Rider Gaim's belt, the Signobu driver.
This, I fell in love with this belt when I started watching the show. Why is the Gaim belt the coolest, best belt, in our opinion?
It's perfect for kids because, like the O's, there's so many forms. This one little belt alone, without attachments, you got every single Loxy to give you a new form.
Yeah.
And then once you get tired of that, you can switch out the faceplate and become your favorite rider.
Really
And
simple.
then use every single Loxy again to get a brand new form.
Yeah.
And even then, you're not done, because you get a little special lock attachment from another belt, and you get super forms. You can use 2 Loxies on.
Yeah. It's kind of seamless.
It's ingenious.
Yeah.
Because it's so sleek and simple. Anyone can like it, and it's not so outrageous. You could imagine people wearing this.
And it's wild to me is that they found a way to make locks a collectible item. But
Even gigantic super locks.
but they're rad looking. They
Yeah.
look cool. Like
Even when they get weird and wonky like the key, you still think it's a cool design.
you even brought up a good point where it's like this could be kind of used like as like a kind of a fun attachment on your bags, or your shirt, on your pants. Like no one, it's not like very glaringly obvious that
It's the only gimmick you could walk around with, and no one will think twice about it because it just looks like a simple hand, like bag charm or anything. You can go in your belt loop. Unlike the wizard rings, where you have a giant piece of plastic coming out of your arm.
Yeah. This though, cool looking. And I think that wraps it up for us. These are our list. You can disagree. You can disagree on the ranking, but this is what we think.
Just so you know, we did this on the belts alone without the show.
Yeah, just really iterating that. We're not talking about our favorite shows. We're not talking about that. We are talking
Even though
about...
Gaim's the best.
I really also like Gaim, I'm not going to lie.
It's a really good show. You should watch it.
Yeah, but regardless of that, this is purely on aesthetic, and this is what we picked, and we think these are the coolest looking belts out of the Neo Heisei era. Thank you so much. Please let us know what your top 10 list is, or top 11. Do you disagree? Agree? What would the one? How about the Heisei, the early Heisei characters from Kuga on that we didn't talk about?
That'd be a cool list to go over with.
Yeah, like what are your lists? What are your favorite there before we talk about it? Let us know. Where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at TokuKid, Twitter TokuKid1. Well, anywhere really at TokuKid.
Yeah.
I'm on all the social medias.
You can find me on Instagram at JessicaQuiz, Twitter at JessicaKeyson. And hey, if you haven't checked out my new Godzilla podcast, we're starting it up this, probably by the time this video drops. So it's Go Godzilla Pod. You can find that on Twitter and Instagram.
We got a super chat during that whole thing. Bryn Darby likes the OOO belt so much.
belt.
You would know what's the name of it over
I
there,
don't know.
Jezzer?
He knows.
Kamen Rider O's. So that's a
Thank
cool
you.
belt.
Yeah.
I kind of want to get back into Kamen Rider. Last one I watched was Gaim.
Dude,
That was really cool.
I'm jumping into Amazon right now.
Amazon.
Amazon.
Amazon
that's
is
right.
different than Amazon.
That's right. Amazon's. Well, Amazon was the original
Yeah,
back
Amazon's
in the 70s.
that's a Dave
and then
Baker
this one comes back as an homage to it for like the 40th and everything. So I'm getting into Kamen Rider again.
So Ryan, we talked a lot about issue 40, but I got to ask, we're gonna get a follow up on Matt.
Yeah, he's back in the story. I think you'll see him more in Go-Go than you will in Mighty Morphin. But yeah, he's still
Matt's still around.
He's still around. Like I think there's still story left to be. Each time I'm like, that's the end of the story. And then I'm like, I got a little more ideas. And like, that's the end of the story. I was like, I got a little more ideas.
I like Matt a lot.
Good. Glad. Yeah, there's definitely. I think I'm gonna try and evolve him beyond just being the outside guy looking in thing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'll try to evolve him more as a character.
As long as we don't have that whole thing is like, when is Matt gonna die type of thing. Like when is Nick Fury lose his eye kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, just about Power Rangers alone, can you talk to me a little bit about your history with the franchise? Like, I'm sure you watched it as you were a kid, but jumping into something like this, when you first get the call, hey, we're doing this Go-Go Power Rangers book, is that a hard sell for you, or is it like, yeah, I'm down for it?
I kind of said this before, but like I wasn't a huge Power Ranger fan growing up. Like I was a little bit older. Like I think I was 13 or 14 when the first show came out. So I was so I just missed it. I was like, oh, that Pink Ranger's cute. Like that was kind of like my first swing at the thing. But like, so I was like a little bit older, but like I remember watching the first season. I think it was either Saturday mornings or like at 4:30 on like weekdays.
It was on both,
Was it?
actually.
It was both?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I remember watching it that way. But like I watched the first season, and I remember watching sporadically the second season. I've since gone back and watched it, but like yeah, growing up, I was sort of like okay. But I actually think in some ways, and Kyle has said this, and I kind of 100% agree with it, which is like because I wasn't like completely locked into it, I thought it gave me a little bit of a perspective on it that I thought would be kind of fun. Like I went in and like Kyle said this, and I agree, is a sense of like write this. I try to write it in the way that I remember it and the way it made me feel, as opposed to like hitting it, verbatim from like each, like going, okay, this is the continuation from this episode. Like I try not to do that as much as I can. I just try to write it like I kind of remember these feelings, and so yeah, like I've become a bigger fan after the fact of being on the book than when I first stepped in. But because because they were like, we want it to be. Their pitch to me was, we want this to be after the day of the dumpster, and what's it like to be a superhero in high school? Like how to do Amazing Spider-Man or the Ultimate Spider-Man book, but with Power Rangers. That was their pitch to me, and I was like, I can do that.
Smart.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Now another question I have is, you have a wealth. Or how are you getting all your information if you weren't a hardcore fan of some of the canon?
I'm watching it. But yeah, watching it. I have friends who've told me some stuff occasionally. I try not to. I try to spread it out a little bit so no one knows everything.
Sure.
Yeah,
That's smart. Actually.
Yeah, exactly. Keep left hand never knows what the right hand's doing.
Right.
Smart.
But yeah, I feel that stuff, and obviously Hasbro and Saban, when they were Saban, are very helpful in that stuff. We run to them with questions all the time. People at Boom are very knowledgeable about that stuff. They actually, it's Daphne and Gwen, and we've had other editors on that, Matt and Mike. Like they know, they are hardcore fans as well, and so I can bounce stuff. Like I remember at Comic-Con 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? Might have been last year. I remember sitting with one of our editors. We were doing a signing, and we were pitching. We pitched. I was like, I've always wanted to do this. We were pitching ideas, and he's like, and he started telling me stuff, and we came up with two stories that aren't going to be in the current thing, just from sitting right as fans. So fans were. What? I was signing for fans' books, and we were pitching story right in front of them. So I don't know if they noticed that or not. So hopefully they didn't.
You can also, when you leave, we'll make sure to give you Toku Kid's number. Okay. So this way, because he's like a wellspring of knowledge, and you can just go off and. Trust me, you'll have. No,
you guys
stuff.
know a lot. It's intimidating in there a little bit. I'm like,
no.
Dai Ranger suits? What?
Oh man.
Another question I have is, who was your favorite Ranger going into this, and after writing, who's been your favorite Ranger, like through the process?
I mean, I think I had delusions of grandeur, and I was like, I like Jason. Like Jason was the guy that he was so cool, and like it's, everything about Jason was like he was my favorite character. As I've written it, like I really like Trini. Trini has become I'm very fond of that character, and I think, and this is sort of a morbid way to say it, but like I think because she's not around anymore, like I feel a very strong responsibility to try and treat that character like, okay, this is the bad version. Like, didn't you love I remember hearing this is completely off topic, but remember when they were gonna do the third Batman movie, The Dark Knight Rises, I remember hearing there was gonna be like a spot where like they were in Arkham Asylum and they just heard a voice at the end of the hall.
Yeah.
And I was thought, oh, that's cool. Like that Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker, is still out there doing stuff. And like in my head, it's such a sentimental thing, but this idea of like I love that he's still living on in that world.
Yeah.
And like this is kind of what I love about writing Trini a little bit, is like I want to keep giving her stories. I want to keep giving her adventures and exploring that character that she created. So I feel a very strong like responsibility for that, and that's come out of that. So like I think that's why I like that. Writing that character.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, because it does pay respects to the character, and honestly, it gives her more of a legacy for what she started. I like that. I know we got a super chat, Jezzer. So what do we got on social media command center?
Bryn Darby says, thought of adding new heroes that aren't Rangers?
Matt's kind of a hero that's not.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
Absolutely. I think I'm a fan of trying to create as many rogues and as many I think comic books work best when you just build out. Like I want the comic books to build out characters. I want them to. That's where Alpha 1 came from. That's where Madriel came from. Like I just like the idea of building a rogues gallery beyond Rita and Zed. Like that's to me is exciting. And like the more villains and heroes I can create, so that we can just keep dipping into them and bringing them in and folding them in. I think that's what I think makes. That's what I think the comic books are for. Right?
Oh man. I just like, and again, thank you for Alpha One. Thank you for Alpha One. Man, I love that whole thing. Like we were talking earlier, and it was like, he's pretty much Satan to Zordon's God, I guess is the best way to say it. And it's like, I love that dichotomy between the two. And then you turn around and you bring us Rita's mother. And so many things about it. Now she is pretty much trapped. She's the essence of the coin. That's why the shield comes from there, and all that. Later, Rita, when she becomes the Mystic Mother, it's all modeled after her mother, and the whole thing about her having to sacrifice her mother for this. It's just there's so much going on. You built in on so much of the characters here, and it's just like. I can't say enough about it. And it's like, but your introduction to these two characters, making them so fresh, Alpha One and Rita's mother, that's amazing. And it goes on to let us know how great Power Rangers can be, and it's great to see that it's happening.
Oh, thanks,
I just got to say that.
So we talk a lot about issue 40, but let's talk about Go-Go. I haven't read any solicitations, so you could kind of say what's out there. But what can we start expecting to see through issue 40? Now the Green Ranger's been introduced. I know we're not doing Green with Evil, but I'm assuming we're still at the pretty early stages when the Green Rangers join the team.
No.
No.
Boy. I will.
Boy.
We're not gonna use. God, dang it! Sorry, man.
No comment.
No. I'm sorry. We're live. I can keep messing this up. We're just running. It's complicated, man. It's like this.
Take a long.
But we're not. We're gonna. Go-Go is gonna take place after Shattered Grid.
Okay.
So that gives you an idea of so after Kyle's run. So that tells you how long he's been a member of the team, right?
Yeah.
Tommy, yes.
Okay.
So, yes.
So wait, are we picking up this team where Shattered Grid left this team off, per se? Because Tommy was still the Green Ranger during the Shattered Grid.
Yes, he was.
Fiasco.
I will show the preview for 21 is out, and it shows you a scene from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 25.
Interesting.
So when you see that...
That was very confusing, by the way, what you said.
25 is where...
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Mighty Morphin 25.
Gotcha.
I know.
This is okay, gotcha.
Welcome to my life, man.
Yeah.
So this shows you some stuff from that. So that it obviously takes place after Mighty Morphin 25.
Interesting.
So I wish I could... you'll get more when you see... it takes place at a spot farther down the line than I think people think it is.
Okay.
But you'll see why, because because obviously we jumped so far forward in Mighty Morphin. I wanted to use Go-Go to fill in and to see some of those moments that we jumped over a little bit, to see stuff that, like you said, there's so many big things that happen in season 2. It would feel weird to just be like, oh yeah, just go watch the show for that to happen. Right. So we try to figure out a way to show all that stuff. When the flashback structure is the way we use that. But you'll see, it's Go-Go's gonna fill in a lot of the questions you have about what happened to the team after Shattered Grid.
Interesting.
I love it.
That's perfect, because I was very curious. Because when
I'm ready to get calls from my editor right now. They're like, get off that show right now. You're giving everything away.
When the panel goes white, in issue 40, I was curious, like, where does this team? You get this bit of a time jump, and then you're with Tommy as the White Ranger, and he's calling out all these maneuvers.
Oh man!
And then you see why, obviously, when you get the reveal of Rocky Adamation. In your own opinion, now this has nothing to do with comics.
Okay.
In your own opinion, does Tommy belong with Kimberly or Catherine?
Oh, okay. This is a big thing here on the show.
What?
So it is. We've had this conversation with a lot of things.
I mean, he probably deserves to be with Kimberly, but I wouldn't. He's a loner.
Well, if Ryan wrote it, there's definitely no way that's happening.
If Ryan wrote it, it's like,
he should be alone, and he's fighting. It's a complex. Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. That's a tough question.
Who's a better leader, Jason or Tommy?
I think Kimberly should be with Matt. That's just me.
Yeah, I like
but
it.
I wrote that character, so.
Better leader, Jason or Tommy? This is not.
You should read Necessary. You should read Necessary Evil.
All right, fair enough.
Okay.
You know what? You have more questions?
No,
You had a few
no,
more.
There was one thing I wanted to point out.
Yeah, go for it.
That people was like, so like you brought up earlier. I tooted my own horn here. If you go back and watch 40, when you read 40, when they're in the pocket dimension and they're doing the training situation, go back and read Mighty Morphin. I think it's 1 or 0. They're doing the exact same.
Oh, the same
exact same
conversation.
scenario that
Yeah.
Tommy did all those times over and over again when he was first starting the team.
Yeah.
That's actually so
Yeah.
funny because I even
Yeah.
said that in my review
And
that
then-
Tommy's ran this countless
Yeah,
times.
and we saw it. And I used the exact same lines and dialogues. I was like, he used that to train. He should be giving them the same training scenario, which I thought would be really fun. I like trying to do that. I like trying to connect back to stuff all
That's
the time.
really
and,
good.
yeah, I
Like,
thought that was fun.
well, in the annual, that moment where they're sparring.
Yeah,
That's the whole thing, right?
Yeah, I even tell them sometimes I'll literally go look at the exact same panel layouts. I think it's one thing about comic books that you can do better than movies. It's like you can use the same. Like I use that on the date. I use on Kimberly and Matt's date and Skull and Kimberly's date.
Yes!
I did the exact same. They're in the car together. They do the thing. Like you can use panel layouts as a way of like visually reminding the audience, oh, we've seen this again. You don't usually do that in TV and movies, but like I just love the idea of using. Christopher Nolan does that a little bit with Memento a lot, and I was like, I want to do that in comics. I think it's a really cool way to remind audience and go like, I've seen this before, and yeah, it's just fun.
So we've seen Angela up here
Yes.
in this issue. Is there any chance we're gonna get to see Curtis, Richie, Sean, or Veronica? You're like, who are the?
Oh, I'm very aware of Curtis and Richie.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, I'm
okay.
very aware
All right,
of those characters. Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
That'd be fun because there's that. It's interesting. 'Cause they kind of drop it too, and you being a Trini fan, they drop this Richie Trini thing that was like kind of like a blossoming romance.
Oh, yeah.
And also it almost made sense that with Richie and Curtis specifically, that I felt like maybe the producers were like, oh, you know, we're hearing rumblings that two of them want to leave. We're going to bring in these two people to replace them.
Well, wasn't it all a big red herring to try and hide the fact that Tommy was going to be the White Ranger? Like they wanted to give you a whole bunch of possibilities.
It felt that
Yeah.
way, but I and this is just a rumor, so I have no idea if this is true or not. So I heard that the reason why Richie and Curtis were brought in, I think it's actually in one of our interviews that JDF says, is that that they brought them in because there was rumblings that a few of them wanted to leave. And originally the two that wanted to leave were Austin and Walter. Mm-hmm. And then what ended up happening is at the very last minute, Tweed left with him, and she was going to stay. Mm-hmm. So they didn't necessarily bring a replacement in for her. But then for some odd reason, they just canned the Richie and Curtis characters all together. So who knows what happened?
Yeah, they threw a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I love that stuff. I love bringing them in. Like, there's definitely you will see. I actually mentioned Curtis, I think.
Yeah, you did.
In one, I dropped
when
his name
Zach
in there.
was,
I
was
love my
younger.
cousin. Yeah. So like, they're definitely all there. If you're a side character, like I met. If you're a side character, you'll probably show up at some point.
So Principal Kaplan, you got a
Oh,
lot.
here it comes.
I met Mrs. Appleby, and she gave me a hug, and she was like, "Thank you for putting me in the book," and I was like, "That's the sweetest thing anybody's ever said to me." So I was pretty
That's
happy.
amazing.
Yeah.
Jezzer, what do we got on the social media command center?
The social media command center, they are talking about.
Well, you missed a super chat too from Bryn, I think.
I think
No,
so.
we went
Earlier
to that
up.
one, didn't we? You said Bryn.
There was another one that was earlier, like
No.
more recently.
There's the U belt, and then the
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
new heroes into the show.
Just like, I got this.
Megan Hines says it would be interesting if Haley from Dino Thunder got a deep dive. Would you consider doing a solo story for the Psycho Rangers?
Would you consider doing that?
Don't they already have? Isn't that coming out?
Yeah, I think so.
They have
haven't
that
announced-
Well, they have
Psychopath, the past
Yeah,
Psychopath.
yeah, right,
that's going to give you some stuff. I didn't do that, but I know it's coming.
Yeah.
It's a graphic novel, I believe.
Yeah, those are fun.
What is it? Quite a few side characters that were ghosted in MMPR. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So a lot of people are talking about SPD. They want you to work on SPD.
Never say never, man.
Do you know if there's any plans for another ongoing spin-off from Power Rangers in general?
I don't know. At the present time, I don't think so. I think the way that they want to do it is like Shadow Grid said a lot. Like it opened up I think it opened up the franchise a lot in interesting ways. And I think I don't know. Like I buy comic books just like you guys do, and I would feel guilty if I was like buy 15 books to like. I know it's a big 2 books is a lot to ask of you guys, to be honest. Like it's a lot.
I want a Power Ranger book every week. At least one, right?
That'd be amazing. But like I think right now they're trying to keep the storytelling. I think if you start to spread out too far, it'll start to get it's like how do you connect everything?
It's like the X-Men in the 90s, right?
Yeah, it got so big. We're like, wow, they're all fighting 20 different villains, and so I definitely think like obviously with the graphic novels they can start to step in and see some stuff, but right now I think they just want to. They're literally just letting me run. They gave me the keys. I'm kind of letting me run it for a while. So I'm sure I'll screw it up at some point, and someone better will take over.
So here's a question. Seeing like you said, you have the keys, and you're doing this right now. When it comes to, I've heard you relate Zordon to Dr. Manhattan as far as like an analog of those two. What other Rangers? Well, yeah. But what other Rangers or what other characters have you seen that you're like, oh, this is a comic analog of them, or this is like a popular character?
Well, you had Dane and Spike.
Dane and Spike. That's just the way that I wanted to write the character. But he has a fun little beat in the next issue. I'm really proud of. But I looked at like Alpha 1. I looked at a little bit like my version of Brainiac. Okay. Which is the idea of like bringing him in and opening up that idea of him sort of, and Lucifer from like the not the TV show but the actual character, like the actual the idea of somebody who thought they're greater than the person that created them. That was kind of fun, like a Frankenstein monster kind of thing. So that's that thing. I'm trying to think like who else is sort of an equivalent. It's funny. Somebody brought you. This goes back to another question. They're like, "Can you bring in some non-Power Ranger heroes?" Promethea is that was Kyle's creation, and I think that's a really fun. I think it's some untapped potential in Promethea in regards to using grace and the idea of some. Yeah. I think there's a little bit more there. Yeah, I like that. I love that stuff. I thought that was really cool. The 69 Ranger episode. That was freaking fun. So those guys. I think there's some cool stuff to be had there as well. But I'm trying to think of anybody else in your character stuff that I was playing with. You'll see some other things coming in Necessary Evil that will line up with some interesting I'm just mumbling at this point.
No. I mean, I get it. Because
so hard.
Like the whole thing with Rita having to sacrifice her mother was like, you
said the Soul Stone. Yeah.
You said that.
I didn't think about that when I wrote it, and then somebody pointed it out, and I was like, oh, I did see that movie.
Once again, it was like only one person probably is pointing out to you, but everyone has to run up to you and be like, oh.
Well, with Fiona, it was really crazy because like I didn't think I knew I was doing the Alpha story, and I was like, okay, we're gonna do like it's about prodigal son coming home to see his father, and I was like, what are we gonna do with Rita? Because I'd kind of run out of story with her, honestly. I was doing the thing of her going and getting the coin. I thought that was the end of the story. And so I was like, but then we had a little bit extra room and I had to pull it forward. And so I was like, well, if I'm doing that story with Zordon, it'd be really neat to deal with Rita dealing with like her past a little bit too. And I actually called Hasbro or Saban at the time, and we're like, hey, like, do we know who her mother is? And they're like, no, we have never spoken. I was like, can I do that? And they were like, yes, because you've done such. They were like very happy with the series. They're like, if you want to do, and so I talked to my editor, and she was like, we talked about the idea of like maybe she's a good person and the mystic mother of it all. And then all of a sudden it started to unfold this idea of looking at Fiona as being good. And the idea that like I love that at the end of it she was like, I know you're gonna be okay. You might sacrifice me, but I know you're gonna redeemed because we do know she's gonna. That's the benefit of writing a prequel is you guys already know the ending. Yeah. So I can suggest it and I can show you. I can make her mother look like Mystic Mother. I never have to say the Mystic Mother thing. You guys know where it's coming, and I thought it was a really fun way of like if I never do anything else with Rita, I'm not saying I won't, but like that's the end of that story for me. Like I feel like you get the whole. You get everything. Tie it all together. Yeah.
Oh, that's.
So I was really happy about that.
Because I love that how she was an influence in the throne room with Goldar. Yeah. That moment where she was like, "Oh,
you don't have to kill him."
I have to do something. There has to be that show of force. Yeah. So it was like, take off your wings. And it was like, okay, and I'm not going to kill him, but I'm going to take off his wings.
So let me ask you a question, because I think a title that I mean, you're obviously writing Go and Mighty Morphin, but something that goes underlooked, and you've mentioned a couple times now, is an editor. So for the people that don't know, what is the editor's actual job in these comic books? Okay.
The editor of a comic book is the most underrated and underappreciated position in comic books. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. They can make or break a book because a lot of the times they're the ones who dictate what the book's going to be.
Sure.
They're the ones who go, hey, I feel like I'd love to do stories in this area and this type of story. Like Daphne Plebin, who's the one who brought me on. She's been on Power Rangers from the very beginning. She's the one who dictated the entire. She worked with Kyle on the first run, and she's working with me, and she's working with me now. She's the one who tells me what to write. I mean that in the sense of like she's the North Star of what the book is supposed to be. she's the one who's like, I want this to be the tone. I want this to be the, and everybody at Boom. I don't want to say just definitely, but there's it's a combined effort. But like, editors are the ones who basically go, these are what the book should be. These are the stories of what they do, and they're sort of the go-betweens between the licensors, who are the people who allow us to do the books, and me. So I kind of work through her, and they're the ones I get. She gives me notes on everything. She works with me on scenes and stuff like that. I talk to her on the phone almost every other day, and I'm like, hey, I'm having a problem with the scene. Can you help me work through it? Like, they're the writer's room. They're the producer. They help with the artist. They're the one who find they connect artists with material. So they try that, which obviously an artist changes the whole tone of a book.
Yeah.
So they dictate that as well. I don't have as much to say. They work with the artist on a lot of early stuff and then present it to me. So like, they do so much.
Do they also work with the letterer?
They work with they're the middle of the thing.
So they're like the executive.
They're the executive producer of the book, and they don't get enough. I get my name on the book, and the editor's credits in the inside page in the middle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is wrong. Like, they should be Blumhouse. I mean, they should be that. Right. They should be that. And like, Daphne she is the unsung hero of the series, and every of the Mighty Morphin comic books as a whole. Like, she's the one when I zig the wrong direction, she's like, what about this? And I'm like, oh, that's right. Like, honestly, I'm gonna be honest, she was the one who's like, what if Rita's mother was a good person? And I was like, that's a good point. Like, she's the one who said that. You're
bouncing ideas.
All the time. Yeah. Like, I don't give them enough credit. I take way too much credit for what they do.
That's interesting.
Wow.
That's really interesting. Yeah. Another question I have is what people don't know. How far are you, like, right now in your writing? Like, what issue would you be on
you're
right
usually now? Like, if you're doing it right, sometimes it's real quick. But like right now, I think I'm writing 40. Like Mighty Morphin, I'm at 46.
Oh, so you're like 6 months ahead of.
Yeah, I'm about 6 months ahead of it. And I think with Go, I'm at 25. 25? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like
you're all the way into December, November.
Yeah, I mean, we're about 6 months. Because the other thing that's really cool about it though is like it's a weird like process where it's like I'm writing 45 or 46, right? I can't remember exactly. So at that time, but I'm also doing lettering passes on 41 and 42, and so like there's a thing where like. As I'm writing an current issue, I'm looking at the new one and doing that because of the way the comic book. I can do the quick version of how it works. Like, turn the script in, I get the pages back, then we get notes from the licensor and from Boom, give me notes, and then I do changes, and then we do the lettering pass, and I get a lettering pass right at the end, which is basically the entire comic book, and then I have to change everything and tweak little things here and there. And like sometimes you have to adjust dialogue for art. Because you're like, okay, that person, you can't tell they're in the room, so I have to explain that. Or sometimes you just pull it out because you don't need it.
Yeah.
I'm being a little over the place, but that's the way it works. But like, what's really cool about that sometimes is like I'm rereading and like going through and precisely looking at 41 while I'm writing 45. Wow. It actually helps remind you, like, okay, that's where I started. This is where I'm at. Am I paying off all the things I set up in these issues here? And so it'll change the way you look. It's a nice little cycle where it
says like keeps you honest.
Yes, you go back, and also you're doing notes on you're getting notes on 43. So it's a sort of process of like reminding yourself where you were, and it kind of goes like this over and over and over again.
Do you ever find yourself going back and making changes to something that you are like, okay, hey, I'm on 46 right now.
Oh, absolutely.
And then you have people, the fan reactions, and they're like, on 40, blah, blah, et cetera, but I had a question about, and you're like, oh no. Do you end up like later and you're like, I got you?
Sometimes you can't. Like, sometimes you're just so far down the road, you can't. Like, that's the one thing, considering I'm writing 46 right now, if people think I'm adjusting, I can't change some of the early issues now. No. So like when people are like, oh, you read that thing and now you're changing it, like, I can't. It was done 6 months ago, man.
It's already been done.
I wrote that a while ago. And the art's in. Like, there's nothing to do about that. But I will say there are things like I have, like, when I do hear like a little, like, if there's like an excitement or a rumbling, or like when a book comes out, I'll be like, oh, okay. Like, I'll hear a thing. Like, I remember there was one thing that I read. I don't want to get too specific because it's a spoiler, but like I read something in like a review and I was like, oh, that's true. That is something people are excited about. I should keep an eye on that. And as I'm writing the thing right now, I was like, okay, I probably should be more aware of that than I was before. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Was that the experience with the whole Alpha 5 wearing the Battleized Blue Raider suit? At that moment where he comes in and kind of saves the day, and he's wearing that.
I told Chris how that happened. Like the truth about how that happened was that Dan drew Night 9 or whatever and put it in the background. Mm-hmm. And I was like, "What's that thing?" And he's like, "Oh, it's just something I thought was really cool." And then Hasbro or Spawn Salt, and they're like, they were like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, it's something we're gonna use later. And like I didn't really know what it was. I was just like, that'd be really cool. And so I had it in the back of my head. And so then when we got to the final arc, I was like, oh, we should totally use it to have Alpha 5 be able to fight Alpha 1 and all that stuff. Yeah.
Genius.
So that's how that worked. But like that's like a reverse version of what you're saying, which is like where somebody's like, you throw something in the background as a cool little image, and everybody's like, what is that? And I'm like, okay, I gotta pay that off. And you just put it in the back of your head. Yeah.
You've come from the world of television and film as well. Would you ever be interested in writing Power Rangers for the live action show at all?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? That'd be great. I mean, I think it'd be fun if we got to do it the way that we do the comics. If we got to do it in that tone, and that style. Like, I mean, I'm not the only one. I think I think
Kyle's expressed interest.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, totally. And he's done live action stuff with them, right? So like, I think it would be really cool. I think the best format. I will preface this by saying I have no inside information. I do not know of anything. So if anybody says this is, quoting me as saying that this was an animated series of the original Power Rangers in like that Voltron style, like on Netflix, would be awesome. I think that would be a really cool way to do that show. You could bring back the original cast for the most part. You could do some really fun stuff with that stuff. And I think if you look at the way that animation works for the style of the show, the action could be absolutely phenomenal. And you could do, there's so many examples of it already working in that medium. It just seems like an obvious.
It's a great. I mean,
thing.
That's something we've been. I think universally ever since Hasbro taken over.
Yeah.
Most of everybody's wanted that.
We all agree. I think everybody thinks it would be one of the best formats to do it. Yeah.
I agree. Jezzer, what do we got on the social media command center?
The social media.
You gotta wake up for a second
Right
there,
for a moment.
as he's running a show.
They were talking about Dr. K and Dr. Octopus, the Wild West Rangers. If I guess they want to revisit them.
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait. Dr. K and Dr. Octopus?
Yeah, there's no context to it. What else?
They both went to medical school.
Yes, exactly.
Is that why Rita never attacks the Rangers' families because because of what happened to her mother?
Ooh, that's interesting.
Dang.
I'd like to see Gosei interact with Zordon.
Gosei from Super Mega Force or Mega Force? Yeah.
I do hope that Go-Go Power Rangers Deluxe cover Omnibus Edition like MMPR Year 1 or Year 2.
No, there's no plans for that currently. I would love one too, but I think we'll see. But there's no plans currently. I get the question a lot.
Okay.
If you, Ryan, ever do a live action or cartoon PR, I would love to work on it.
Me too.
Yeah, right.
Everyone's all about the animated series. I think that's a great idea.
Tell you, man.
That's an interesting Matthew Thompson. That's an interesting. It's an interesting concept. See, that's the thing I do like about like talking to fans a little bit is everybody like they'll bring that stuff up and I'm like, maybe, yeah, and then I'll take it and steal it later. But no, that's the stuff that if you do it I think it means I'm doing something right in the sense that stuff like that lines up. Sometimes it's coincidence, but sometimes it means that like I'm staying true to the character and I'm staying true to the story.
Even when you walked in, how many theories we had about like I can say the Intergalactic Peace Conference or whatever it may be. Like how many different theories we had about issue 40. You didn't say anything, but it was just all of our speculation.
Yeah, I love hearing that stuff. That stuff's fascinating.
I loved it. Like the issue
because you just stood there and you just take it
Well, same thing with Dane. Like, I think the thing that I'm most excited about, I know a lot of people are excited about the Omega Rangers, and I understand why. But I'm more excited to me about Dane, mainly because it does, like you said, it opens up the world of Power Rangers. I don't know what people on Sirius, what they've been doing. No. I know the planet got destroyed. I know Doggy Kruger survived. That's about all I know. Yeah. Right now, I know that there's a character named Dane, so it opens up that world. I know that there's a greater world out there. You didn't introduce, but King Lexion is now also here too. Yep. Maybe we go back to Edenoise somewhere down the line. Who knows? But I think that's all awesome. So not tomorrow's Sunday, but we're bringing Morphin Mondays back, and we got some panels. Thanks to Matthew Thompson, he recorded them from Ranger Stop and Pop that just happened last weekend. Let's show you guys a clip of what to expect this Monday coming out on #show.
Hey guys, this is Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, and you are watching that #show. Ooh-yah!
Welcome, Jason David Frank.
Yo, I'm bringing my daughter Jenna Frank up.
Jenna Frank!
All right, Jenna Frank in the house. I'm gonna have her join me because we're working on something special with Bat and the Sun. She's gonna be a big part of, but we're not releasing this stuff yet, but it will be released soon. So I got it up here. So of course she gets super famous.
That's it. She's gonna be super famous.
Test.
Yeah, you got a microphone there. You can use the handheld or this thing right here. Jason, do you need a moderator? Or you want
thank you. No, it's good.
Yeah, it's all you.
Yeah.
Jason Frank, everybody.
Well, thank you guys for coming today. We're going to open up questions a little bit too, but first of all, it's nice to be here. Ranger Stop PopCon, I appreciate it. I know Karen, Nakia, Mikey, everyone, the whole team put this together for you all. I was excited to come up here. Sorry I was only here for a day. It's Jenna's, we're celebrating her birthday weekend.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
The candles are blowing out.
Happy birthday, dear Jenna. Happy birthday to you.
I have one candle left, sorry.
It's okay, it's one wish, you know. That's all you need.
You still got it, y'all.
And thanks for the girls for working so hard to put this event together. They did a great job.
For the full Jason David Frank panel, tune in on Monday. That's right, Morphin Mondays are back. Bringing those back. And if you just looked at our we just released the Sorosa brothers, Yoshi and Peter. They did the Toy Story 4 review for us. We had them go to the little advanced screening that Disney sent us to, and we had the Sorosa brothers review that. And we have Cameron Jibo and Brennan Mejia that are going to be reviewing The Lion King for us. So that's going to be a lot of fun as well. So we got to ask, what's going to happen in Necessary Evil?
Well, here we go. All right.
He just pushes the mic off and walks away.
Just take it and drop it.
No, but I know obviously you can't answer that. But look, issue 40 set it up that we got a lot of surprises. I don't think anybody we knew the White Ranger was going to be in it mainly because it was in preview pages. But the reveal of Rocky, Adam, and Aisha, that was completely new. As was the Omega Rangers. There's still a lot more shocks coming. How long are you on Mighty Morphin for? Do you know, or is it just keep?
I'm on it for
Ever.
forever.
I'd say.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass it down to my children.
Yeah.
No, I'm on it through Necessary Evil at the very least. I'm gonna do this until I run out of stories to tell. Until I feel like, and also, I like bringing other people. I think I really enjoy doing it, but there's gonna be other, like bringing on Senna, doing Go-Go has been really, really fun. He brings a really interesting voice to the story that I didn't have. And so I feel like there's other people who are gonna come in, and there's so many, it's a great world, and I'm gonna pass it down to somebody else after me. I think that's the great thing about comic books is that you can do it for a little while and then you hand it to somebody else and they just keep going with it. It's like just pass the baton.
Well, I love the fact that Kyle was so influential, with you taking over Mighty Morphin.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
He was more influential than Kyle and I. A lot of this run is conversations Kyle and I had when we were trying to figure out how to end Shadow Grade because we got to work so close together. He's been my friend for years. I love the guy. So it was weird. I remember we were sitting around at one point working on Shadow Grade going, I can't believe we're getting paid to do this. This is what we used to do when we had no money and you just got out of college and we were sitting at one of the pizza places and breaking story and just doing it for fun because we'd seen a movie. And now we're actually doing it. We wrote the Free Comic Book Day together.
Really?
And at a coffee shop in West Hollywood. We just we're together and I'm like, what are we doing? This is crazy. So that part's really fun. So I love I'm trying to honor him. He casts a long shadow, man. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah.
you're doing quite a damn good job, if I may say. The Go-Go stuff is amazing. Issue 40 already piqued my interest as soon as I knew that you were coming on it. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see who else is gonna pop up. I'm excited to see what happens with Matt. Like, Matt's a character. You were talking about Matt a little bit earlier off camera, but Matt's one of those characters to me. I think what intrigued me the most about Go-Go and got me really into the story is what was going to happen with Matt every week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's a fun character for me.
I'm glad you feel that way. That's good.
Yeah, don't kill him. This is all I'm saying. You going to say something?
Well, you know what? One question, I guess, more of like a yearbook question, which I love that you did. What would you say to your future self?
What would I say to myself?
Don't tell me that the haircut's cool.
Go to the gym. And get a better haircut. Yeah. But enjoy it right now. We'll enjoy it while it lasts. Because I like this is we talked a little bit about when I worked at Bad Robot and stuff like that, and it's like it's this stuff's so hard. Like even with the show, like you know what I mean. Like enjoy every moment that you have because you never know when it's gonna go away. And like I really on my birthday, I got all those incredible people reaching out to me about Fortnite, how much they liked it and how excited they are for it. And I know that everybody's not gonna love what happens. Like that's just the way everything is. Like but right now, like
why do you think that?
Because
like, that's
I don't know.
Like, what?
It's just you don't people you don't I don't know you don't want to mess it up like I know there's like you said before like you want to be respectful. I want to give everybody I never write any story with like screw those people. No, but it's like you want to make sure you do everything well and you want to make sure you give everybody a little bit of everything, but like that's just not the way it's going to be. So right now I'm sort of enjoying the fact that like people are really excited and that they read that 40 and they were like, wow, that's really cool. Like that's a cool energy that I like that I gave people, and I hope that I continue to do that each week.
Any Power Ranger content to me is good content.
Agreed.
At the end of the day, because it's widening the brand awareness, and we were talking about this off screen too, because we all grew up in the era where Power Rangers was at its height. We're hopefully getting back to their, exactly where it was, where it used to be. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of celebrities and athletes now that are huge Power Ranger fans. Xavier Woods from the WWE. We had Ronda Rousey. We had Mike Rome on the show. Alexa Bliss also from the WWE. There's there's a few actors I interviewed that were Jake Johnson. He's a big Power Ranger fan.
Right. Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
So there's a ton out there.
No, I know there's. I said this. The Miami Dolphins, Christian Wilkinson, who just got drafted. He was one of the Clemson guys who did the Power Rangers. Like he's a big fan. I'm like, all right, Dolphin fan, go Dolphins.
Yeah, right. Are you from Miami?
No, I just like the Miami Dolphins.
So I'm a 49ers fan.
All right, well, we're gonna.
I think that's gonna. Oh, one last thing.
Sure.
If you ever make the Phantom Ranger, can you make them based on me? And just
you mean you haven't been the Phantom Ranger the entire time?
Yeah, just going to reveal my identity.
He's never been revealed.
I know.
And we have a thing going where he is essentially
a suit.
Actually, I have a suit. A full.
You do?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Why are you not wearing that right now?
We should have.
Because it's getting warmer outside in Southern California. I don't want to die, I think. Yeah. Could you make me the Phantom Ranger?
I will see if I'm on the book when that happens.
Well, that's
going
gonna
to happen.
All right.
So
at least made that official. Now that's going to do it for us here at that hashtag show. Jezzer, any last final comments on our social media command center?
Let's see. They're excited for Morphin Monday. Everybody's was pretty hyped about Ranger Stop, and let's see what else. What if Dane is the reason why SPD forms on Earth? He causes a massive problems, and it leads to the formation of Space Patrol Delta. Ooh, that's
Ryan.
Damn.
Little bridge into SPD. Go from MMPR to SPD.
Because we don't know where the origins of SPD really come from.
Yeah.
No.
And then there's even further into the future. There's the origins that SPD really sparked off Time Force. So it all ties together. It's all connected. We don't want to get in trouble because Marvel couldn't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the cinematic they didn't pull that off so well. But that's going to do it for us, guys. Where can we find Jezzer? Where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on all social media at Jezzer Zeus.
Daniel?
Find me Battlestar Galactica and on and of course on Twitter that hashtag BSG.
Ryan?
I'm on Instagram at Parrott_Ryan and at Twitter at that Ryan Parrott. Two
and
R's, 2 T's.
Do you have any appearances coming up anytime soon? Any signings or anything?
No, at the present, but we will. I'll be at Comic-Con. That's about it. Yeah, that's about it.
Well, we got to get you connected with the comic book Manhattan Beach. They always have big releases.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I am Joe at that hashtag Joe on all social media. You can also find me right here every week at that hashtag show, most every week. You can find us on our podcast at The Illuminati. We have a podcast where we bring on different guests. We've had a bunch of Power Rangers on it recently. We have Johnny, who you guys know, Johnny Parker. He's coming on it as well. And Mike Rome?
Yeah, Mike Rome.
Right, Mike Rome from the WWE. But check that out, Illuminati. You can download that on Stitcher, iTunes, wherever you get podcasts,
Wherever.
it's there. You can also check me out at screenrant.com. But that's going to do it for us, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us right here. Thank you so much for joining us, Ryan.
My pleasure,
It's been
man.
a pleasure having you here and talking to you. It's so much fun. It's so much fun picking your brain about this stuff. But we hope to have you back soon. Issue 41 or even Go-Go. We'd love to bring you back because you're pretty close. Yeah. That's going to do it for us, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us on your Saturday. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button to stay up to date with everything trending.
In geek pop culture.